Imagine a man standing alone on a balcony overlooking the vast city of Rome, the weight of an empire pressing down on his shoulders, and yet his mind remains calm, disciplined, and unshakable. This is Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, whose reign would leave a legacy not just in history books, but in the very fabric of human thought. From the very moment he ascended the throne in 161 AD, the world would watch a leader whose power was tempered by wisdom, whose victories were measured not in bloodshed alone, but in the moral resilience he embodied. Before we dive deeper into his life, Dante, forget to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you never miss a journey into the forgotten and fascinating stories of history as great as figures. Because what you're about to hear is not just history, it's a masterclass in leadership, philosophy, and the art of life itself. Marcus Aurelius was born on April 26, 121 AD, into a Rome that was at the height of its power, but also beginning to show the strains that would test its leaders. Historians like Anthony are burly in his acclaimed biography. Marcus Aurelius, a biography. Note that, from his earliest days, Marcus displayed an unusual combination of intellect, discipline, and moral sensitivity. Unlike many heirs to the throne who grew up indulgent or disconnected from the realities of governance, Marcus was trained meticulously in philosophy, rhetoric, and military affairs. He would study the Stoic philosophy of Epictetus, learning that virtue, wisdom, and self-control were not abstract ideals, but practical tools for living. Burleigh emphasizes that Marcus' adherence to Stoicism was not mere intellectual exercise. It guided every decision, every command, and every interaction he had as emperor. 161 AD, Marcus had become co-emperor alongside Lucius Verus, a partnership that was as politically strategic as it was complex. Lucius, often described by historians as more indulgent and pleasure, contrasted sharply with Marcus' disciplined, contemplative nature. This partnership highlighted one of the essential lessons of leadership Marcus lived by: the ability to act virtuously in a world often dominated by vice, chaos, and personal ambition. He faced wars along Rome's northern borders, political intrigue within the Senate, and the constant pressure of maintaining an empire that stretched from the deserts of the Middle East to the forests of Germania. Yet, through all of it, Marcus Aurelius remained a figure of stoic calm, meticulously recording his reflections in what would later be known as meditations. Meditations, written in Greek during his military campaigns, was never intended for publication. In these personal writings, Marcus explored the nature of human existence, the inevitability of death, and the importance of duty and reason. Scholar CRN, in his translation of Meditations, notes that Marcus consistently reminds himself to act with justice, to exercise compassion, and to maintain inner peace despite the external turbulence of the world. For example, he writes about the necessity of controlling one's impulses and remaining undisturbed by the foolishness or malice of others. Herein lies one of the reasons Marcus Aurelius continues to inspire millions. He was not a philosopher in an ivory tower, but a leader who applied his principles amidst wars, plagues, and political instability. Speaking of wars, Marcus' reign was punctuated by one of the most challenging military crises in Rome, as history of the Marcomannic Wars. These were a series of conflicts along the Danube frontier, where Germanic tribes and other peoples tested the limits of Rome's defenses. Unlike emperors who might have focused solely on battlefield tactics or glory, Marcus combined military strategy with moral leadership. He traveled with his legions, shared their hardships, and constantly reminded himself and his officers of the Stoic principles that should govern their actions. Historian Michael Grant, in The Roman Emperors, a biographical guide to the rulers of Imperial Rome, 31 BC AD 476, highlights that Marcus' personal presence and ethical approach to command were as important to the war effort as any tactical decision. Soldiers respected him not just as a ruler, but as a man whose character matched the lofty ideals he espoused. But the trials of leadership were not confined to war. In 166 AD, a devastating plague now, often identified as a form of smallpox, swept through the empire, killing countless Romans and threatening to destabilize society. Marcus Aurelius faced the dual challenge of leading armies, while simultaneously guiding a population through a health crisis. His meditations reveal a man deeply aware of human suffering, yet steadfast in his duty. He writes about accepting mortality, controlling what one can, and taking responsibility without complaint. This balance of personal reflection and action is what sets him apart from so many historical figures who wielded power without wisdom, beyond wars and plagues. Marcus Aurelius also confronted the eternal struggles of governance corruption, political scheming, and the often capricious whims of the Roman elite. Yet he remained committed to justice and rational decision-making. Scholar Frank Micklin, in Marcus Aurelius, alive, emphasizes that the emperor's integrity was not performative. It was lived. Whether adjudicating legal cases or overseeing administrative reforms, Marcus' actions reflected a consistent moral philosophy. He strove to treat citizens fairly, reward virtue, and punish wrongdoing proportionately, always aware that the empire's longevity depended as much on ethical governance as on military conquest. One of the most remarkable aspects of Marcus' character was his humility. Despite ruling the most powerful empire of his time, he often portrayed himself as a servant of Rome. He referred to himself in meditations as simply a man who must do his duty, and he constantly reminded himself that fortune, wealth, and status were fleeting. This humility was paired with an extraordinary resilience. Marcus faced personal tragedies, including the loss of many children, without letting grief cloud his judgment or divert him from his responsibilities. His writings repeatedly return to the idea that life is short, death is inevitable, and only virtue endures. The legacy of Marcus Aurelius extends far beyond the fall of the Roman Empire. Philosophers, leaders, and thinkers across centuries have drawn inspiration from his life and writings. The 20th century historian Peter Braun describes Marcus as the last of the 5 good emperors, and a ruler whose moral philosophy offers timeless guidance. Even today, modern leaders look to his principles of rationality, empathy, and self-discipline as a framework for ethical leadership. Marcus' insistence that inner virtue should guide external action remains a beacon for anyone seeking to navigate complex challenges without compromising integrity. As we reflect on Marcus Aurelius, it becomes clear that his true greatness was not measured in victories or monuments, but in the example he set for all who would come after him. His life teaches that leadership is not about domination, but about service, not about indulgence, but about discipline, not about fleeting fame, but enduring virtue. When A.W. wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." He was not merely instructing others, he was committing himself, day after day, to a life of consistent moral action. So, what can we learn from Marcus Aurelius in our modern lives? First, that adversity is inevitable, and true strength lies in how we respond. Second, that knowledge without action is empty. Philosophy, ethics, and learning are only valuable when applied. And third, that leadership, whether over a nation or one's own life, is most effective when guided by reason, empathy, and unwavering moral principles. Marcus Aurelius was not perfect, but his conscious effort to live virtuously amid chaos offers an example that transcends time, culture, and circumstance. As we close this journey into the life of the Philosopher, remember that Marcus Aurelius' greatest victories were not fought on the battlefield, but in the quiet, relentless discipline of his own mind. The Stoic Emperor teaches us that power paired with wisdom, action paired with virtue, and reflection paired with courage can leave a legacy far beyond the limits of one lifetime. Dante, forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can continue exploring these forgotten stories and legendary figures from history.